Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, a naked man was arrested for running through the halls of a Des Moines hotel, swinging a toilet plunger.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. I wasn't running.
You know, I was glad that toilet plunger was what he was swinging.
Yeah.
By the way, this is another Florida man situation. It's a Florida man. They just took Florida out.
But it's in Des Moines. Des Moines is not in Florida.
He flew.
It's in Iowa.
He flew.
Everybody wants to swing a toilet plunger through a lobby. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Kevin Durant's future, LeBron's frustration, and Steph Curry's injury. But we begin today with Kyrie Irving reportedly being traded to the Dallas Mavericks for 2 players and 1 meaningful draft choice. Irving moves into the backcourt spot vacated by Spencer Dinwiddie, one of the players Dallas traded. Wilbon, what does this trade do for the Mavericks?
Tony, it makes the Mavericks better. It makes them more dynamic. The Mavericks had failed miserably at upgrading their roster around Luka Doncic. Failed. All right? So when they lost Jalen Brunson, who they could have signed for less than $100 million, to the Knicks, who signed for like a $125, they lost their second best player and just a terrific player who ought to be an all-star. And they didn't get any better. Well, they got better. They're better. There are 4 teams out there trying to get Kyrie Irving: the Lakers, the Clippers, the Suns, and the Mavericks. And the Mavericks did this because the Mavericks are looking at a point where Luka Doncic is going to look around at some point and say, hey, I'm going out here getting you 50, sometimes 60, and this is what I got? I don't have enough. Let's go. Right. Well, this is a let's go. And, Tony, they're going to be a handful offensively with them. Look, there's so much else that goes along with Kyrie Irving, which you and I both know, and we'll talk about starting now. But they physically get better. The wizardry between those 2 players, they become must-watch TV instantly.
This is an interesting point of view that you have. Mine is totally different. I believe that the Dallas Mavericks are the worst place on earth for Kyrie Irving to go. He is, as you say, a wizard with the ball. He's the best dribbler probably in the league. He's a great penetrator. If he is out there with 4 other people, he is likely to make many of them better. But the Mavericks have the one guy in the league who is better at these things than Kyrie Irving in Luka Doncic. And he's bigger and he's stronger. I mean, I don't get this at all. If you tell me that the Mavericks will be better when Luka Doncic is off the court, because right now, Mike, when Doncic is on the court, they have the best offense in the NBA. And when he's off, they have the worst. That's how valuable he is. So if you tell me they're going to be better with Kyrie Irving when Doncic is off the court, I'll say, sure, that's great for the 12 minutes he's off the court. But he's not a 12-minute player. That's not how he works. They're going to be on the court together for 30 minutes. And in that period of time, Mike, there's not enough ball to go around. I believe this is subtraction by addition for Dallas.
Wow.
I believe it's a terrible move.
Yeah, Tony, I disagree with you. And look, my questions about Kyrie Irving are the same questions as always. They don't really have anything to do with basketball. They have to do with his accountability or lack thereof, and whether he's going to go to somebody's birthday party and miss 3 or 4 games. It's not about basketball because he's been one of the 5 best players in the league for the last 6 weeks. They are 2 ball-dominant players, as you suggest. But, Tony, it's interesting. I'm talking to a Hall of Fame guard last night. I can't mention who. You know him very well. You love him. And he said to me, remember, these guys, there's competitiveness within a roster, within a locker room that can be healthy. And they're going to push each other to be better. And I certainly had not thought of this, but it's certainly possible, Tone. Remember, too, Kyrie Irving is playing for a contract. He's got to sign somewhere next year. And again, his issues don't seem to be basketball related.
Let me give you a prediction. Quickly. Let me give you a prediction of what's going to happen. Because this is an incredibly egotistical move by Mark Cuban, who is probably thinking to himself, I can handle this. I can make this work out, though nobody else has made this work out.
Jason Kidd can handle it, maybe.
All right. Yeah. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. In a year, if they sign him to a long-term deal, in a year and a half, Jason Kidd's going to be fired, just like Steve Nash was fired, and it's not going to work.
Long-term deal, different issue.
That's what I'm saying.
Long-term deal. But Jason Kidd's got to get a handle on it. Tony, look, I agree with most of what you're saying. Can Jason Kidd get a hold of this? It's a lot. It's a lot to ask any coach because no one's been able to get him under control for very long. For the second straight season, moving to our follow-up, Kevin Durant has lost a superstar teammate. James Harden last year, Kyrie this year. And Durant himself requested a trade during the summer, but the Nets are 32-20 in fourth place in the East. Tone, should Durant be looking to stay or go?
This can't be a serious question because, of course, he should be looking to leave. Spencer Dinwiddie and who is it? Dorian Finney-Smith, they're fine players.
Dorian Finney-Smith,
they're not
nice player,
championship-level players. Yeah, they're fine. They're not championship-level players. They're not Kyrie Irving. And Kevin Durant is sitting there right now, and he goes, you got to get me out of here. I've asked for trades before. Maybe I wasn't forceful enough. I'm asking for a trade now. I've got to go. Because it's not going to work for him. There's not enough around him. Let's look at what they did when Irving was there with Durant. They played, if I'm not mistaken, in 74 games together in almost 4 years. 74 games because Durant was hurt a lot and Irving decided it was more important not to take a COVID vaccination shot than to bother to play basketball. And they're going to have to trade Durant now. And a lot of people, including me, are going to say, you deserve this, because what they're going to get is somebody else's Spencer Dinwiddie and somebody else's Dorian Finney-Smith. And people like me are going to say, you deserve this, because this was a sin of pride, thinking that you could put these people together and let them walk out on the basketball court and you would win all the time. You gave your team over to them. This is your prideful, this is the result of your pride.
Yeah, Tone. I mean, Kevin Durant still, you got to look at him and say, wait a minute, you chose Kyrie Irving over Steph Curry, with whom you had won 2 championships. And so, no, I'm never going to understand that. But I'm going to go back to the stay or go. I think go. But, Tony, he's only got about 48 hours to do this. He's got to do this right now. So, and where's he going to go? Well, everybody would want to have him. Maybe Golden State wants him back. When you spend a lot of time living in a place called Arizona, right now people are chomping at the bit, Tone. There's a new owner coming in there. And this new owner, he ain't Robert Sarver. He's got way more money than Robert Sarver. And his ambition, I'm told by people who know, is let's win starting tonight. If you want to win starting tonight, wouldn't you want Kevin Durant to try to do that? Now, the problem is, what do you have to give up? And it appears that Brooklyn not all that interested in Ayton coming back. And so I don't know how that would necessarily go down. But if you're Durant, and I hear Durant has interest in Phoenix, then why wouldn't you try to make that happen? And everybody would have interest in Kevin Durant because he's Kevin Durant.
The Nets are going to become a full-fledged disaster with a full-fledged implosion. They're going straight down to the basement. It's not going to work on any level. We move on. I got 27 things in my ear. Yesterday, upon learning that Kyrie Irving was traded to Dallas, LeBron James put out this one sentence on Twitter, and I quote, "Maybe it's me." Wilbon, you talked to LeBron today. What does this mean?
I don't know what that means. I told LeBron, I said, I'm so terrible at deciphering tweets because I'm too old. I don't know what they mean. And he had a laugh. And he went into a very specific explanation where he was saying it's about me. I got to take accountability for what happens here. In other words, just don't slough it off on maybe getting a trade. And he wanted him. He wanted him. I think he used the word disappointed. We just talked a little bit ago, Tony. And he was very candid. I mean, LeBron was very candid up front about, hey, here's somebody that I've had chemistry with. Here's somebody who I've won a championship with. And, this has been a year that tests LeBron's patience. And I suggested to him that his patience would be tested even more. And it would be. But so I moved from that a little bit in that the Lakers need something, Tone. Now, LeBron believes that they can make a run if they have health. And he knows it's a big if with a capital I. He understands that, underscores it.
Right.
If they have health, if they can get out there all together, Anthony Davis and him particularly, that they can make a run. And I'm not going to disagree with that, the way they played when they were out there healthy. But, Tony, it would have been a lot, I'm not going to say easier. If you put Kyrie Irving out there with the two of them, you then have something where you go, wow. But he was supposed to be that in Brooklyn, and he couldn't do it. It goes back to not trusting him. And LeBron James knows he knows the calculus here. And he was ready to take that on, it seemed to me, in the conversation we had.
Sure. So let me get to this. Well, the tweet is, maybe it's me, which is odd because that means that LeBron thinks maybe Kyrie doesn't like him. And for years, we have all thought that LeBron did not like Kyrie. There has been additional reporting since then to indicate that the owner of the Nets specifically said he wants to go to the Lakers. I'm not sending him to the Lakers.
Yeah, how about that?
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
He should be on the Lakers because the only title he's ever won was with LeBron. And he could be ball dominant there. And even though LeBron likes the ball a lot, Kyrie Irving would know when to give him the ball because they have played together before. And I would point this out, Mike.
Yes.
A few weeks ago, when LeBron issued a text statement condemning all forms of hate speech when Kyrie had been suspended for endorsing an anti-Semitic movie, LeBron made very clear and went out of his way to say of Kyrie Irving, I love him. And LeBron probably thought that he might get him now. In the short term, this hurts the Lakers. But if they want to sign him in the summer to some sort of long-term deal, LeBron has to go to management and to ownership, and he's got to take essentially the Mark Cuban position, which is, I can work this out. I can control this. But, Mike, you and I know nobody can control this.
Nobody's
Good luck with that. Doesn't work.
Yeah, and Tony, I don't know that they have the money even after Russell Westbrook's contract expires. Maybe. But here's what stars know, Tony. They, like fans of the game, get seduced by Kyrie Irving's enormous
They all
talent.
do. All
His
do.
unique talent.
They all do.
But Tone, you covered the league long enough. You know when you sit down with somebody over a drink after a game, and there were different players. There were other guys who were like Kyrie, Pete Maravich. There were guys who were like this when you covered the league. And you sit there and you say, okay, but now what? And they say to you, oh, my God, I can't believe I'm going to take this on. That's that league.
Yeah.
You don't have that in football.
Yeah.
That guy gets cut because his contract is not guaranteed. This
Let's
happens
take a break.
in
We're going to talk about this for days.
More than
We're going to
anything.
talk about it all the time.
We are.
Coming up, what is Steph Curry's latest in? Our viewers are the best, even the ones who email us.
Mail time!
Let me get the first one here.
Don't take shots.
How does Steph Curry's latest injury impact the Warriors' chances?
Well, Steph Curry's got this knee injury. He banged it a couple of different times in games. And he was, Steph was just hitting a Steph stride, man. They were winning games. They got a long stretch of home games coming up, like 9 to 12 or something like that. And, Tony, I thought the Warriors could really work themselves up to third, fourth place, which is really a nice place for them to be. And now with Steph out, I just don't know. They're so much better with him than without him. Surprise, duh. How soon does he get back? Does he come back March 1st? Does he come back March 15th, April 1st? Don't know. There's too much we don't know.
I'm going to give you a couple of numbers that are going to surprise you. In the last 11 games that Steph Curry was out, the Warriors were 6-5.
6-5. I know
In the
that.
games in the games that Steph Curry has played all year, they're 20-18. So 6-1, half a dozen the other. He's a great player. They are a flawed team. Steve Kerr keeps saying, we've got to find our identity, as if it was a piece of paper that he took out of his pants and dropped on the street somewhere, and they can find this. They're a 500 team, Mike. I mean, with him or without him, they're a 500 team at this point. And as great a player as he is, they don't seem to be who they were, right? Can we agree on that?
Yes, we can, but they seem to be moving toward who they were. They seem to me to be doing it. Look, I'm fixated on the Warriors. I watch every game they play. They were incrementally getting better. And I agree with you, Steve Kerr, and the identity, because he's right. They couldn't find it. They've been trying to find it since October. But I thought they were moving there, and now this sets that back.
What does it say about this college basketball season that Duke and North Carolina played on Saturday and no one seemed to notice?
Yeah, it's not this season. And you and I have been talking about this for a few years now. The length of the pro football season, which the pro football season used to end with a Super Bowl around January 18th or 20th. Years ago was before that. And now it goes to the middle of February, to February 12, and it just cuts college basketball off at the knees. College basketball is a 6-week season. That's all it is for anybody any year now. Now, Duke and Carolina got caught up, and they're not great. They're not dominant teams. You're not trotting teams out there that are going to go 30-2. But, Tone, this is affecting college basketball as a whole now, and it's kind of sad for somebody who loves it as much as I do.
I noticed the game. I watched the game. It came on at a perfect time for me, 6:30 in the evening. I picked up the Washington Post the next day. There was no mention of the game. There was no story on the game. I couldn't remember anything like that. Both teams unranked. I couldn't remember anything like that.
Yeah.
Unranked Duke and North Carolina. But you look at the Blue Bloods this year, Duke, Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas, Gonzaga, Michigan State. They've all lost a bunch of games. Now, this game loses glamour because neither Roy Williams or Mike Krzyzewski are there anymore. But I thought people would go to the game, Mike, because the last two Duke-Carolina games, Krzyzewski got beaten his last game in Cameron and then got knocked out by Carolina in the Final Four, and nobody seemed to care. Enough email. Let's take one last break. Still to come, my half-interested review of the Pro Bowl games and NHL All-Star Weekend.
You knocked yourself out on that. You think you half interested. You waiting to find out what I am. Aaron Rodgers does something Tony and I just dream of doing.
Happy time, people. Happy 25th birthday, Adley Rutschman, the Orioles' long-term catching prospect, the overall #1 pick in the 2019 baseball draft, made his major league debut last May. He shook the home plate umpire's hand, looked around to acknowledge the roar of the crowd, and settled in behind the plate as if to say, well, la-di-da, look who's in the show. Rutschman had a triple and walked in that game. Finished the season with 13 home runs, 42 RBI, and a .254 batting average in 113 games. After years of wandering around lost, the Orioles finished above 500 for the first time since 2016, and the thinking is their rebuild is over, thanks to players like the switch-hitting Rutschman.
Can you believe the Orioles and the state of Maryland are in some sort of dispute about Camden Yards? Like there's got to be renovated or redone dramatically? Camden Yards, which was the model for all the baseball parks for us, Tony,
Beautiful.
for years and years and years. Unbelievable.
Beautiful baseball park. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Happy anniversary, Aaron Rodgers. On this day 12 years ago, Rodgers led the Green Bay Packers to their first Super Bowl win since 1996 with a 31-25 win over the Steelers. Rodgers was in his third season of starting Green Bay after taking over for Brett Favre. Rodgers was named Super Bowl MVP after throwing for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns. The next season, Rodgers would win the first of his 4 NFL MVP awards, putting himself on or near the same line as Tom Brady. But as Brady continued to go to and win Super Bowls with New England and later with Tampa Bay, Rodgers never got there again. He lost 4 different NFC championship games.
Yeah, but Tony, he did win the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Listed as a 10 handicap, by the way. He said it's a bucket list item for him. How great is that? You know, I know you would give years off your life, and so would I, to win at Pebble Beach. I've never even played well there. I played well at Spyglass, but not Pebble.
Aaron Rodgers is a really good golfer. I don't think he's a 10. I think he's better than that. I think he's really good. Happy trails to the Pro Bowl games and the NHL All-Star game. The NFL dumped the Pro Bowl and replaced it with skills competition and a flag football game. I like the quarterback competition. I watched that. And the idea of a long drive event, though Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen were playing at Pebble. The flag football games were more fun and more intense than I expected. Jalen Ramsey slammed into Tyreek Hill and drew a roughing penalty in flag football. I always liked the skills competition in hockey, especially shooting at the plates in the goal mouth and the speed skating. The game itself isn't much, but in the semifinal, you got to see Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin play together.
I clearly have television channels you don't have, because I ain't watched a second of any of that. And I didn't have any problem finding stuff I wanted to watch. None of the above.
No, but you have special TVs that are tuned into Law and Order reruns 24 hours a day.
24/7, baby. 24/7.
A couple of omissions. 7-time Pro Bowl receiver A.J. Green announced his retirement today, and Tom Brady told Colin Cowherd he will not start calling games for Fox until the 2024 season. Let's go to the big finish if we could.
Let's do it.
Chiefs put McCole Hardman on injured reserve and activated Clyde Edwards-Helaire. What do you think?
15 will have another weapon. He'll have enough weapons. I'm not going to, hold a GoFundMe for him. Jim Boeheim apologized for saying that Wake, Pitt, and Miami bought their teams. Your thoughts?
You can buy teams now. NIL allows you to hand money over to people all the time. Buy your own team to compete. Women's college hoops, #1 South Carolina, edge #5 UConn in Hartford. Is that significant?
I watched some of I ain't going to say edge. They stormed back South Carolina and won that game. I mean, woo. 51-year-old Jaromir Jagr passed Wayne Gretzky for the most career goals in all competitions with his 1,099th yesterday. Is that legit?
It's legit. He's playing in the Czech League. It's legit. It's not that big a deal because nobody remembers the number. The big deal is he's 51. He's playing in 51. Last one. The Bucks go for their 8th win in a row tonight at the Blazers. Do you like their chances?
I do like their chances, so I think they're going to keep it rolling.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time. It is Happy Birthday Son-in-Law Day. Happy birthday, Ron.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. Dawn Staley's got a great team, Tone. Maybe Duke and Carolina don't, but Dawn Staley does. And now,
it's a good look for you. That T-shirt.